Yo, everybody. I wanted to give you a little impressions video for Pokemon TCG Pocket. I'm conflicted about it. You may know that I am a very big critic of mobile games, of any games with gotcha loot boxy mechanics, overly aggressively monetized stuff, especially stuff aimed at children. You know, I did all those videos on Pokemon Unite, and I do have similar feelings about this game here. But I'm gonna try to leave those at the door today. I may do a bigger video on that whole angle on the main channel at some point. I'm not 100% sure. But I do just kind of want to do a basic impressions video for Pokemon TCG Pocket, mainly because when I was like really sick, you know, if you've been watching my videos, you know, I had a pretty nasty like flu, bronchitis kind of thing, and I'm still slowly recovering. But like for a good 5 days or so, it was like in bed all day kind of thing. Like can get up to go to the bathroom and like that's it. Like just like absolutely so drained of energy and feeling so bad that I can't even like engage. I can't even just like, oh, I'll just like play a game while I'm sick in bed. My brain isn't even there. I can't even enjoy things. I'm just feeling too uncomfortable. One of those things where you're just waiting second by second for the day to end. But there was one thing I was able to engage with, because it was just right there on my phone. I could do it little by little, and it was playing Pokemon TCG Pocket. And I think I probably wouldn't have picked it up if I didn't want to, you know, talk about it on my channels and at the very least do like an impressions video or something. But yeah, I figured I would. I'm like, yeah, I'll get a video out of this, so I'll play it. And so, yeah, that was one of the only things I actually did while I was sick. And I haven't actually played the Pokemon TCG since I was a kid, since I was in middle school in the late 90s or whatever, 2000 or whatever. It hasn't happened. I was really obsessed with Pokemon at the time. That was the height of Pokemania, which is funny because the sales figures for all of it, the games, the cards, everything, is only bigger now than it was then. But that's what's so funny, is the power of a craze. Even if the sales weren't as big back then, the craze was bigger. It felt like so much more of a phenomenon, and I don't know, it's really funny. I won't go into all the concepts that play there. But yeah, all that to say, I've not played a single game of Pokemon. Couldn't even remember all the rules. So it was definitely fun, in its own way, to kind of dip back into the card game and kind of refamiliarize myself. And the whole entire point of Pokemon TCG Pocket is that it's something that anyone can pick up. Anyone who doesn't even own any Pokemon cards at all. From the beginning when they revealed it, it was clearly meant to be kind of an entry point, something that would probably appeal to any Pokemon fan, Pokemon TCG fan, but like anyone could get into it. It's just because like it's free. You get 2 free packs a day, so like it's just kind of like, why not? You get to open free packs. So yeah, speaking of which, you get 2 free packs a day. It basically takes 12 hours per pack, and it maxes out at 2. You can buy the premium subscription or whatever, and then you can open 3 a day or whatever. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, you get your free packs, and the packs aren't really full packs. They're only they only have 5 cards each, and there's no guaranteed rare or anything like that. So like plenty of the time you open a pack and you just kind of get a bunch of commons or uncommons or whatever. And on that note though, it is a little bit fun how the entire game takes the concept of the Pokemon TCG and it applies any changes that it wants to it. And I think that's refreshing and fun. It doesn't tie itself down to the old rules and idea. Like it's basically a different canon, It's basically a different timeline, and it can create any number of basically new sets remixing old cards. It can make changes to old cards. It can create, yeah, and you know, the game itself is a simplified version of Pokemon TCG. Biggest changes being decks only have 20 cards. So like that's a very, very low barrier to entry. Only 20 cards, whereas like traditionally it's like 60. You don't have prize cards. You know, generally you place down prize cards, and then whenever you knock out an opponent's Pokemon, you get to pick up one of your prize cards. And they just don't do that now. Now, whenever you knock out a Pokemon, you just get a point, and the first person to 3 points wins. And I think this is very clever. I think this is really good because, you know, the whole prize card thing, it's a clever idea, but like if you start the game and some of your best cards are there in your prize pool, then you are simply at a disadvantage. Sure, you may pull them if you knock out Pokemon, but it's going to be harder to knock out Pokemon when you have some of your strongest cards there in your prize pool. It is kind of an issue. So I think this is a very cool idea. It's just a really nice streamlining of the whole entire process. And then, speaking of streamlining it even further, there are no energy cards. Instead, you just have like an energy pool, and it just generates energy every turn. You just take an energy from the pool and slap it on your Pokemon, whichever Pokemon you want, every turn. This right here, that is another change that I think works really, really well for this version of the game. But I think it is unfortunate that it comes with its own problems, because now you have this thing where you are just naturally at a much bigger disadvantage if you have multiple Pokemon types in one deck. I mean, you know, with any TCG like this, you know, look at Magic or whatever, sure, every time you introduce different colors, different types, then yeah, like that is a problem. That's something that you have to overcome, but then you're usually rewarded because multiple types on one card, it's going to be a stronger card. But the thing is here, I believe when you have multiple types in your deck, the energy is randomly generated, and yeah, there really isn't enough of an incentive to use multiple colors in one deck, because especially with 20 card decks, there's just a lot fewer opportunities for, I want to call it mana fixing, but just making sure that you get the right energy at the right time. It's way too chaotic of an element. So the meta right now is basically just monocolor, because why would you not? It's just kind of better. So that's a little bit of a problem with the whole energy pool system. It's got its upsides and downsides. So then playing the game itself, it's also very streamlined, very, very just like quick and snappy. The games are really not that long, and I think it's great. And because it's an app, and because it's not adhering to the actual rules of a lot of really specific cards, you know, because the cards can be redesigned to fit this version of the game, then you know, anything that pulls from your deck can be kind of done automatically. Cards have been redesigned to like pull things automatically rather than searching your deck for such and such. The meta is basically just not very complex. It is all very simplified. As they increase the number of cards and sets and stuff on here, sure, things are probably going to get a little bit more complicated, but I'm hoping that they more or less keep it at this kind of like fairly simple level, you know? It does make it less complex, but I think it just fits for this app. This app feels like it is supposed to just be, just at its core, a simpler version of the card game. And that's why it's a stepping stone. It's a way to get people into it. I don't know how competitive people are ultimately going to be here. I don't know how strong the meta is gonna get, but at least right now, it's pretty simple, and that is kind of fun. And you know, I've not played any games online, but there's a pretty okay kind of like set of like just regular old CPU battles that you can do. And of course the computer is garbage, and that means that it's really just RNG. It really just comes down to like what they pull and how stupid their moves are. But like it's still fun. and it is still the first that I have played the game in decades. So it's been a little bit fun, kind of like going through these battles here. And because of how simple everything is, it means that like you can engage in a game using very few cards. You know, like it takes very, very few cards to actually build a deck and start playing, at the very least, against the CPU. Sure, if I go and play people online, then there is a meta, and then if I'm not playing the Mewtwo EX deck or whatever, I'm probably not going to do very well, because like, yeah, it's, you know, it takes some work, and money certainly helps if you want to get some of the better cards. But it's been kind of fun. You know, ultimately, even if somebody doesn't really want to play online or whatever in the game, it really just works as a collector. Just kind of a collecting game. You know, you get your free packs and you collect the cards, and that's it. And it's actually funny because when they revealed it, I imagined that it would be more of a collection thing. And they like mentioned battles, but I guess the battles, there's actually a little bit more of an emphasis on them than I expected. People are playing online. There is a meta. There is some competition going on there. But yeah, even if you don't want to touch that, you can just collect. And it really does, you know, it's fairly generous early on. You know, you get your 2 packs a day, but then like I said, if you just pull a bunch of commons, then it's like, oh, great, so I got a bunch of commons today. The only reason that you'll be able to build up a decent collection is because early on, as you know, your level grows, and you beat these CPU battles and you earn these little missions. So early on, it's a lot more generous with the hourglasses that let you reduce the time that it takes to open the packs. You know, so like you get like hundreds early on. So like plenty of times now, I've actually been able to use my hourglasses. I think at least twice I've used the open 10 thing that, you know, you can open a pack or you can open 10 where it opens 10 all at once if you have enough hourglasses. I've done it a couple times now, but I do know that that's going to dry up. You know, by the time the next set comes out, I don't think I'll be playing anymore, but if I was, the next set's going to come out. Suddenly there's like another 100 and whatever cards to collect, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm all out of that like early game stuff where I'm gaining levels constantly and I'm fulfilling all these missions and getting hundreds of hourglasses. And that's going to be the point where people are going to have to pony up. You know, they're going to have to start paying. It's a common mobile app practice to lure people into a false sense of security and make them feel like, oh, it's plenty generous. You don't have to pay for anything. But like, yeah, you do. Ultimately, you do. This is the honeymoon phase right now. So yeah, like I said, I'm probably not going to stick around too much longer. This has all just been kind of something that I've just been doing. I got like a little bit hooked into it because I was playing while I was sick. But yeah, like, again, setting aside the moral implications and all of the microtransactions and stuff. Well, okay, I'll at least mention them just because it is literally a part of the game. So you have the collecting aspect, you have the battling aspect, and then you've got other stuff too that is all tied in with all of these different currencies and whatnot. You've got the Wonder Pick feature, where if you've got friends, and if you don't have friends, it'll just give you some random people, and it will show you packs that they have opened up recently, and you can see all 5 of the cards, and depending on how rare the cards in the pack are, you know, you got to spend more of your little wonder tokens or whatever, which also refill over time. But point is, though, you spend some wonder whatevers, and it takes the pack, and it shuffles them and puts them face down, and you get to pick a card, and you know, essentially you get a random chance to get one of their cards, and it's a pretty cool system. It's kind of the way that the game throws you another little bone, you know, giving you 2 free packs a day. There's a bone right there. But then, like, you can spend 3 wonder whatevers and look at a pack and like, oh, this person got a really rare card. I'm gonna spend my whatevers and I have a 1 in 5 chance of getting that card. And I've never gotten a really great card from the Wonder Pick before, but like, it could happen. And if it happens, it's just like basically a free card. It's a free valuable card. So it's kind of nice. I'm kind of thankful for the concept. It's kind of cool, even if, you know, then Wonder Picks can expire, and then you gotta buy Wonder Pick hourglasses to. It's a whole thing. But yeah, there's other features and stuff in there. I think a really interesting thing about the game is that like it like with an actual like physical card game, you buy the cards, but then you buy all of the extra stuff associated with it, binders and card sleeves and coins and things like that. And that's one reason this product exists, because they didn't want to just sell us digital cards. They wanted to sell all that other stuff too. The fun, like, visual stuff that goes along with it. And they do a good job of making some of that stuff decently appealing. There's just a lot of different things to choose from and purchase and whatnot. And you can, I didn't really dig into this very much. I don't quite get how it works yet, but like you can basically doll up your cards, because like in the real game, you have regulars and foils and full arts, and because this is a digital product, you can do things to make them look cooler, and then even just in the cards themselves, you get a lot of different versions of the same card. And I think that's another it's another benefit to it being digital, is they can really lean into that. And as we saw in the reveal, there's some cards. I got one. I think I got the Mewtwo one, where it's like this. It's like a full art card, but then there's this whole like weird like 3D zoom in thing. It's pretty cool, because in real life, there's only so much they can do to a card, but then here they can add all of these sparkles and weird things, and you move the card around, use like the 3D sparkles, and it's kind of cool. I like how many different cards have these full art variants, because the art on a lot of these cards is really, really lovely. It's always really nice to pull a card when, it's not even necessarily like a big, crazy, it's not Mewtwo, it's not an EX card. It is just a common card, but like, it's like a really beautiful, sparkly, 3D full art version. You got one for like Diglett or whatever, and it's just like this big panorama, and all the Diglets are all underground, and it's very clever. It is very clever, and it really makes use of the digital format, I will say. So yeah, I've had some fun. I've had a little bit of fun with Pokemon TCG Pocket. I think I am probably pretty much done, but it's been fun. It's fun to open packs. It's fun to, the random chance of you might get a cool thing. You probably won't, but you might, and sometimes you do, and that keeps you going. It's a whole thing. I do think ultimately it's been fun to revisit Pokemon TCG, but it has kind of reminded me. Well, not reminded me, because I haven't played it for a long time. I guess I'm realizing now in re-examining the game, I think I just don't like it too much. I'm not saying it's bad. I think I just have some problems with it design-wise. I think there are just some things about it that kind of rub me the wrong way. It's not a game for me. Oh, I will say though, I do actually have one major problem with the game, but I'm not alone here. This is a horrible flaw that they need to fix. In this version of the game, it's not the same in the regular physical tabletop one, but in this version of the game, going first is only worse. Like, obviously going first in a game puts you at an advantage, so in any trading card game, they have to kind of like nerf going first a little bit. But for whatever reason, in this version of the game, you can't attack and you can't put an energy on your Pokemon. So you go first, and that's the thing, is before anyone has even gone, everybody gets to play their Pokemon. And then you go first, and you're like, I already played my Pokemon. So did you. I don't even get to attach an energy. And then they go, and they put an energy on their Pokemon, and they attack you. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, they need to fix it. Everyone pretty much unanimously agrees that apart from some very specific combos and interactions, there are some cards, if you have a Misty in there or whatever, like, yeah, sure. There are some specific scenarios where going first can be beneficial, but for the most part, it's just worse. It's just a disadvantage, and it's definitely not fair. It's a huge flaw. Whenever I'm playing with the CPU, if I go first, I just quit. there's no reason to continue. There's absolutely no reason to. It's only worse. So they do need to change that. I don't know how the game released with such a major flaw. Going first is just terrible. So yeah, that's Pokemon TCG Pocket. It's a very well-made app. It's a very well-made game. Even just the way that it runs, like it boots up really fast. You know, like I'm used to like online games, you know, playing Pikmin Bloom or whatever. Like it just takes forever to boot up. This one does not. It takes seconds, and everything looks really nice. The process of opening packs feels nice. Yeah, UI is all clean and pleasant, and it's good. It's a good app. They developed a pretty good app there. And whatever I may feel ultimately about the app and the whole entire idea of like what it stands for and all the stuff I may say about it later in a bigger video on the main channel, I can at least be thankful that I had it while I was sick in bed. I was thankful for that at least.